and welcome to Thursday Night Talk. This is a show where we discuss the week in Humboldt, the local issues, and the local personalities. I'm Talvi, your local host for the next hour, and we're going to, instead of just talking about the last week, we're going to talk about the whole year. That's right, Humboldt is short on a great many things, like food, but in 2023, there was no shortage of dick moves. Dick moves are, by definition, avoidable. Are they fixable? Can selfish, malicious, and petty acts of destruction be undone? And can the authors of these transgressions be redeemed? Well, we're going to discuss that all tonight, because joining us is Fumiko Cahill, the Arts and Features Editor of the North Coast Journal, and also author of the article, Top 10 Dick Moves of 2023. It was a very fun Facebook thread to be part of. We are also going to have Lauren Schmitt, KMUD's news director, here to discuss everything as well. So, hello, Jen. Let's see. Where do we even start with this list?
I mean, we've been running this list since about 2016, and every year we go through a couple of phases putting it together. The first phase is us thinking, well, what even happened this year? And then the second phase is thinking, this is too many to fit into a list of top 10 and having to narrow it down. So it's a groundbreaking list for its repeat offenders, its double dippers. It's a big one this year.
It's a big one this year. Welcome, Lauren. I'm not sure where to begin. I think we all know which story. Well, not everybody knows which stories I feel most passionately about. Though let's just go from the top. Let's start with Woodkey. I think that's how I pronounce his name.
Well, Woodkey was in our top 10 stories of the year, but we had, and this is a sort of a thing every year, the top 10 stories, we run them at the end of the year, kind of a look back. But usually the top 10 dick moves kind of dovetails into the top 10 stories because a lot of those stories had dick moves in them.
There's a lot of overlap happening here.
There's a lot of overlap.
It's hard to about somebody being newsworthy, and usually that newsworthy item is you were a jerk, or somebody was.
And I'm really interested in what KMUD's news editor has to say about some that we might have missed and things like that, because there was a lot of news this year. There was a lot to cram in, and I know everybody was scrambling to cover stuff. But, you know, dick moves are my beat.
Right. I was, hey everyone, Lauren Schmitt with KMUD News here, and hi Jennifer and Talvi. Yes, I love the top 10 dick moves every year. I look forward to it. Kins didn't make the list this year.
Yeah, they've been on it like 2 times, I think, right? I think twice. And they were close. They were contenders.
Well, someone was on it twice this year.
So true. I guess we should go through some of they're loosely ranked, I should say, except when we get to
embezzlement. We'll go down. We'll start at 10. Nonprofit embezzlement. Both me and Lauren work for nonprofits. It is so frustrating to think that there's somebody at the top of any chain or even bottom. But I want more money too. But I'm doing it the legit way by trying to work hard and actually count the hours that I work. And it's like, hey,
listen, if you had to go do some Ocean's 11 crime, then the least you could do is not steal from like a nonprofit dance studio or the county fair. Like when the county fair can't afford funnel cakes this summer, do you want to be the reason why? So right now the FBI is investigating Nina Taffarella, and she's alleged to have stolen from 2 different nonprofits, embezzling by making ghost payrolls and basically paying herself.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's a crime to embezzle, but it's a dick move to embezzle from a nonprofit.
Right. I mean, it's true. If they embezzled from like Elon Musk, would people be touting them as a hero? I feel iffy about saying that, but you know, It takes a lot.
You'd be internet famous, and your face would be tattooed on many people, I think. But the Sanctuary Garden Vandals in Arcata made number 9. And this is the second time they've been on the list, even though they might be different people. It's the act. And we do try to, here at Dick Moves Incorporated, we do try to separate art from artist, if you will. So it's possible that a person who is not 100% a dick might at some point commit a dick move. I stand before you, someone who has been on this list twice.
You were on? Were you on the list for?
I did some crimes. I did not vandalize a sanctuary garden where like children play, and no. However, I did at one point heat up one of those rice neck pillows that's like for your sore muscles. And I meant to do it for a minute and 20 seconds, but I must have hit an extra digit or 2 because it went for like 12 minutes and it caught fire in the office microwave. And I don't know if you've ever smelled raw rice on fire, but it might as well be a pile of burning truck tires. And the smell did not dissipate for a long time. And everyone hated me, rightfully. I want to say it was a mistake, but I was in a very angry place at that time. So I earned my way onto the list. And I also got on the list with Linda Stansberry last year for baiting Thad Greenson into watching an absolute brain-meltingly stupid time suck of a local video that we didn't watch, but we knew it would be stupid, and we knew he would watch it. We knew he'd go all the way through. I think it was like 4 hours. And yeah, we did that. So dick move.
You know, when you were talking about Harding Sanctuario, I feel like racism in general is just like top dick, ultimate dick behavior. So, and it seems like, you know, some of the organizers at Harding are basically assuming that these were basically hate crimes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the dick move part of it is the kind of hate crime it is. I mean, hate crimes are crimes for a reason. They are heinous and disgusting, and they're meant to instill fear. They're meant to be a kind of a terrorism in the sense that they make everybody feel unsafe going out, doing your thing like a normal, innocent person. But this in particular was like, you know, this is, like I said, a place where children plant sunflowers and whatnot. This is not like, you know, you're not making a statement at, you know, I don't know, a government building or something like that. You know, you're doing a hate crime, basically, to my mind, on children. And it's insane.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
You know, picking on your own size is a great way to stay off the dick moves list.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can't make too many comments, but a lot of people really think that, you know, I'm a fan of the movie Through the Back Door, or Exit Through the Gift Shop Back Door, or whatever it's called, where like I love graffiti artists, true graffiti artistry. Like, y'all aren't Banksy out here in Humboldt County, and it needs to stop. And like, especially when it's like direct hatred or just hideous, I'm like, can we at least make it look good? Like, you're gonna put your name on it. Yeah. Just make it look nice. And don't be a hateful dick, you know.
Okay, so number 8 is actually another one of these like broad shotgun spray, literally, kind of randomized dickishness, in the sense that it's not a direct attack on the condors, but using lead ammo, just as it did last year, repeat offender, puts condors and other animals in danger. If you're not familiar, the majestic endangered condor is a kind of a, what do you call it? Cleanup crew for Mother Nature. They eat carcasses and whatnot. But that means that if animals, if carcasses are left with lead ammo in them, or if they are, if parts of them are left behind, what the condor eats could poison them, as it did A6, one of the released birds. And it had to be treated at the Sequoia Zoo, the Sequoia Park Zoo. And, all these people working so hard for this deeply ecologically and culturally important bird. But sure, go off, use some illegal lead ammo and, hunt with it and put other animals in danger. You frequently hear people who are, avid hunters who are also avid advocates for the environment, and this is not them.
Yeah, we actually interviewed folks with the Condor Project, and they wanted the public to know that they're operating a program where you can actually exchange any of the lead ammunition you have back when it was legal and get the non-toxic, I believe, copper ammunition, just swap it out and you're good to go. And, I have a friend who's very much the quintessential Elmer Fudd, and even he doesn't believe in lead ammo. So there's no reason.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're making it easy for you to stay off the list.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I
send me that information, because I would like to share that everywhere.
I would love the information too. I know we all have friends who like to go hunting or go to the range. It's a habit out here that we like to, which let's not jump ahead too far, because we will get to that, how very common in Humboldt County, to the point that we'll get
God.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Oh, I do wish that you had a like best, not just best stories, but like, here's the not like the totally not dick people for Humboldt County, because I feel like the zoo really would be a shining light from this past year and past 2 years. Like, it's really just, and then we just lost our precious red panda, but they've, we got the baby bears. We have, they win awards all the time. The lights this holiday season were amazing. Yeah. So I just shout out to the zoo for being absolutely amazing and incredible this year, because they really have helped give me joy in the community.
I don't know how happy this would make the zoo folks, but Linda Stansberry, we were going back and forth online, and she was like, oh, I'm counting down to when inevitably, as every year they do, somebody pipes up, some dude pipes up to say, how can you call something a dick move? What if I called it a vagina move? And I'm like, I guess do. Like, write your own list. What am I gonna? I'm not gonna stop you.
One, like the top 10 vagina moves of the year.
Right. So I was like, well, we should do a vagina list. The top 10 moves that reflect like creativity, life-giving creativity.
Sounds amazing.
Resilience, flexibility, and a good time.
Good time for all.
Good time for all. Yeah.
There we go. It writes itself, really.
Yeah. I mean, but I don't know how much, like, how excited would the zoo be if I was like, congratulations on your vagina move?
I think I know some folks at the zoo who would be thrilled and honored, truly honored, I'm sure. I would be honored if
one reason why
this last year. I'd be like, yeah, that's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, there's one reason why this list doesn't come with actual trophies.
I wish it did. I would deliver them personally. Every single.
We've started saying you've got vagina instead of balls, because vaginas are incredibly way more resilient than the counterpart.
I think, Betty White had a really great comment about that. And I was telling my daughter this, and she was like, Mom, don't bring Betty White into this.
Always bring Betty White in.
She's like, Mom, leave Betty White.
So Number 7, dick move, Toys for Tots.
Who
And
steals from the Toys for Tots?
The Grinch.
And then I kind of felt bad because all these resellers online started getting hate. They're like, you must have been the thief. And it's like, one of them probably was the thief, but like, I don't know who, like, didn't they catch the person?
They have a suspect. We have not had the full, process. The wheels of justice have not yet turned, not fully. So we don't have a convicted person, but we do have a suspect. And, the thing is, again, steal, I guess that's a crime. But what makes it a dick move, of course, is who you steal from and how. And in this case, like, there's really just nothing worse. It's the worst of all possible looks, right? To just go straight from Mount Crumpet down into Whoville and pack up the tree from Cindy Lou Who's house. It's the worst.
Lisa Music, who works for us here at KMUD and also for the Redheaded Black Belt site, she runs the Southern Humboldt Kiwanis Toys for Tots.
Oh.
So we were getting a lot of behind the scenes kind of scoop. It's one of those things being a local reporter, right? Where we report the news, but also we're super embedded and invested in our community. And she actually kind of was like almost a good thing because they were struggling for donations and to meet the need. This year, they saw such an increase in demand for folks asking for assistance. And because this suspected Grinch made this dick move, the community rallied together and ended up making and getting donations like twice the amount that they were planning on having because of the dick move. So good job, Grinch.
Boy.
Right. Maybe what if that was their actual plan?
I'll tell his attorney.
Right.
Yeah, where were you going to hide a semi-truck full of toys?
What, were they high? I just have to ask.
I mean, it's
guaranteed.
It's Humboldt. I don't know, but it's a lot. There's a 30% chance, I'm going to guess, in Humboldt County, right, that whatever crime it was committed a little high.
A little high.
A little high.
Oh, so because I feel like the next two are kind of tied into each other. So let's take let's talk about let's take a break real quick and then we'll come back and we will continue the top 10 dick moves of Humboldt County countdown. Welcome back to Thursday Night Talk. I'm your local host, Talvi. I'm here with Jennifer Fumiko, Cahill, as well as Lauren Schmitt. We got the bad but used women of Humboldt here right now. I'm not including myself in that, but I'm going to do the tops. And we are counting down the top 10 dick moves from 2023 that affected us locally right here. And I feel like 6 and 5 somehow are sort of related. So that's why I waited till after the break, though. The randomness of Cal Poly Humboldt to decide that they're just going to kick out all these students that have been living in the parking lot. That was wild.
Yeah, I didn't go to HSU CPH, but I was, one of the things when I first started learning about the campus and the college was from alumni. And I think the guy, his name escapes me now, but the guy who runs Marimba One, he told me he camped during college. He was just in the woods in a tent attending HSU. And over the years, that was the first one. Over the years, I've met a lot of people who were like, oh yeah, I was living in my car and going to school. And I was like, what? But this is a storied tradition, evidently. Housing is at a premium, as you know, it's expensive. And, you know, if the university had decided for whatever safety reasons, liability, I don't know. I don't, you know, I'd be making more money if I understood all that. If they decided they had to stop that, stop students from living in their cars, vans, RVs, etc., on campus parking lots, that was a thing they could have done. Maybe not like a couple weeks before finals with no warning.
Right.
Oh, I mean that was rough. And then the whole, like, the Housing for All initiative, it's just like a slap in the face every time. And then, oh, we're going to build a barge in the middle of the ocean. We'll put all the students there. We'll put all the houseless there. It's like, come on. It's just, it's wild.
Yeah, El Lenador, I believe their editor was really embedded in the eviction. I believe himself, it was either him or some of the other journalists were actively being evicted. And we got to interview them for that segment. And I think one of the biggest issues is, as you stated, really just how abrupt the move was. And I think a lot of folks, gosh, 2, 3, how many years ago when Tom Jackson really came in to be leadership at Cal Poly Humboldt. And really ever since he took position, it's kind of been radio silence. And I think a lot of people are shocked by the lack of communication from the administration.
Yeah, I think
so we did spend an
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was part of it, right? You don't hear anything and then it's like you gotta go. And I was, you know, surprised to see how soon after writing about, you know, van life on campus, basically, how soon after this you know, this ordinance was enforced.
We had Maddie and Brad who were they had an RV on the campus, and so we had them on this show for an episode specifically about that. And you know, every year the fun of houselessness in Humboldt County, it's a real concern. And this year, like, it's getting scary. It's getting a little bit scary, especially just seeing a lot of friends struggle. And it's kind of going back to like 30 and 40-year-olds do not, we should be making enough money that we don't have to have roommates. And that's just not what I'm seeing. Like, I know a lot of grown adults that are, you know, what we mentioned Betty White earlier, though. I'm like, I think that's going to be like, I'm going to have to find some gal pals or something, and we're going to have to go in on a house together and just be living our best.
Now you're making it sound good.
I know it does kind of sound good, but that's not what. But I don't think me and 3 others of my friends can even afford a house at this point.
I mean, like, you need to be able. If you need to have that extra income for flowy robes and cheesecake.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Housing for All initiative that went through Eureka was, you know, kind of tapping into that anxiety that we all have about, you know, finding low-income housing for ourselves, for, you know, the ever-growing population of people who are homeless in Eureka and elsewhere. You know, the people we see living on the streets. That's never great. You never see someone living on the street and think, boy, that's definitely what they chose for this life. It's never good. But instead of responding with empathy, we got scammers in here. And the Housing for All initiative folks made their initiative sound like it was to provide, its goal was to provide housing for, I don't know, all. But in fact, it was to prohibit the building of housing on parking lots with a kind of a, well, maybe this will work, maybe this won't, alternate solution. Basically telling people like, there's a perfect solution elsewhere, right? and this solution is inconvenient, and I'll die if I have to park 3 blocks from my office. And it really misled people. And I remember seeing lots of people posting online when the story came out and saying, "Oh my God, I signed this list when I was like at the supermarket or whatever, and I did not realize it was for this, that it was actually against building low-income housing in downtown Eureka. It was the opposite of what I thought I was signing." And, who among us has not in a rush been like, okay, I will sign the thing, and maybe did not read as thoroughly or sometimes at all? Um, I mean, that's a dick move.
Jennifer, question for you. Some of the folks, in Southern Humboldt, were reading the top 10 dick moves, and, many obviously agree with number 5, but we're curious why the measure A didn't make it, because there's some similarities.
Yeah, I mean, measure A is a tough one. I would say it was a near entry. There were a lot of people lobbying for it, but I think what it lacks is a certain childish pettiness. There are certainly things that were more impactful, and that actually tackles some of the cannabis changes in the top 10 stories, because they're certainly important and they're impactful, but are they childish and petty? And that's where people who are on either side of the debate, you have to look at both sides and ask yourself, are people here are they just acting in self-interest? Are they acting in good faith? Or are they just nursing a grudge? And if we're nursing a grudge, that's right where I live.
And as far as the parking debacle, I have to say, following Hank Sims of Lost Coast Outpost on social media has been amazing. Him and Tom Wheeler from Epic are just talking about the parking crisis Eureka has. So I recommend following Hank Sims of Lost Coast Outpost.
I've lived in not a lot. I've lived in a handful of big cities and, big walkable cities. And parking, I mean, you just accept that you are going to have to drive a little bit, that you might have to park a few blocks away from work, or that, there are like little inconveniences, but you have to weigh them against, I don't know, humanity. And that little grain of pettiness, Rob Arkley's, what was it? Someone said to me that Rob Arkley is like Avon Barksdale. He just wants his corners. And like, yeah, his like ride or die for parking lots thing. I don't know who is behind this LLC that has purchased this land that is referred to in the Housing for All initiative, quote unquote. But we'll see soon. I guess we'll find out. And yeah, I mean, please remember too that Rob Arkley has done real estate dick moves in the past. Like, for example, wanting to just absolutely make sure that the Wiyot people did not get back the Tuluwat. Like, he was like, I want my family to be able to take walks there whenever we want. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, and speaking of Kins and their dick moves, they've partnered with Arkley to say some of the most outrageous quotes that I save in my file and air anytime the subject comes up.
Listen, I mean, I can't remember if Rob Arkley made it onto dick moves. I think he might have been pushed out by something else. But there was one year where he was definitely in the finals for going on Kins and basically saying that, like, I've thought a lot about all these problems with poverty or whatever. And what he came down to was that it pretty much falls at the feet of Black women. Like, it was wild. And this was on Kins. And, of course, the host of Talk Shop, Papstein is sitting there going, huh, really? Like, you're so wise. I thought I was losing my mind. and the amount of airtime that Rob Arkley gets on Kins, honestly, is probably, and the amount of deeply offensive stuff, anti-trans stuff, frankly, scary stuff that I hear on Kins, they're always they're in the rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know what Kins is. I'm looking it up right now. I knew there was conservative radio in the area. I just never heard of it before.
Listen, stay pure.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, okay. I'd go on their shows. They can come on mine. We can talk. Let's have a discussion. A fun, friendly discussion.
When we talk about conservative radio, we're not talking about small government.
Right.
We're not talking about lower taxes. We're talking about, the previous year's dick move that Kins was on for was because they had a poll that was, do you support interracial marriage?
Oh. So we're talking, okay.
Yeah. So
we're talking Andrew Tate level.
Interracial marriage. I don't love giving that a both sides discussion.
Yeah, it's insanity.
Yeah. So to carry on with dick moves, number 4, the Wildberries manager cheering section.
Yeah.
So I remember these videos coming out, and so I have worked as a security personnel. You don't touch people, and stores have theft built into it. You're supposed to let them go, make sure to have it on camera footage. That way, when they get over a certain number, you can, file a charge against them as a felon. You don't attack a 16-year-old girl or boy. You don't get violent with that. Also, and that is exactly what happened at Wildberries.
Also, sidebar, if you are, don't look that into it. Just maybe try not to look like you're into it. But lots of people were into it. While it was, not charged as a crime or anything, and I believe he still works there, the actual act of, throwing around a 16-year-old girl who's probably a third of your weight, that's between you and the Lord, son. But if not between you and the authorities, it's between you and the Lord. But the people who were cheering it on in the comments, the people that I saw online saying, well, that's the problem with these kids. You need to throw them a beating, like that kind of thing. That was wild to see and painful to see. And, I frequently hear people saying things like, we're too soft on kids these days, et cetera, et cetera. I got to draw on the line at physical violence, because that's violence. And as I say in the column, all the people who are out here saying, my parents hit me and I'm fine, saying that is how I know you're not fine.
The ACEs score.
And passing it on does not heal your trauma. So yeah, cheering on violence against a young girl, that's never a good move. It's always a dick move.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. It was kind of uncomfortable. It's and then people would be like, well, do you agree with stealing? And I'm like, why can I be like, no, stealing is bad, and also think that violence is also bad in that context? Not that there's ever a good time for violence, but
I some heated debates when this was unfolding between some of my friends one night, and as soon as top 10 dick moves came out, it was screenshotted and circled to a couple people who were in that cheering section, all with love, of course.
Sure.
With love.
Nothing but love, which brings us to our next number 3. He's also number 2, but we've got Rex Bone appearing twice on this list.
Okay, I should say that one of the dick moves that didn't make it on, because I just did not have the space, I would like to announce here publicly that inviting Rex Bone to do your auction is a dick move. Just don't.
He's so good at it too. He's so good at it.
Just don't, though. There's other people. Other people can do it. Listen.
You can
Yeah.
hire. I mean, I don't know if I can say that, but like I've done auctioneering. I'm just saying, I'm getting better.
Hey, babe.
Like, I'm getting
Listen,
better.
I am very proud of the fact that when my kids' school had a auction for their class trip, I took that mic and they had spending money. We had
Right.
excess. I am very proud of how much money people were paying for cake that night. But the thing is, do you want to be an organization that is embroiled in this kind of crap? Do you want to say to the people who are going to be in attendance and the people that you are helping, the people you're raising money for, do you want to say, yeah, we actually don't care about the racism and the misogyny as much as we care about the money? Don't say that to people. We hate it. Try and find someone who doesn't make a complete embarrassment of your organization to run your auction. There's somebody out there will do it. It's not impossible. The gavel is not Thor's hammer. It cannot only be lifted by Rex Bone.
I am scared to comment because I think he's a great, like, he brings in so much money.
Yeah.
People love him.
You know what?
I know it's
pull somebody
business
else off the bench and give him a chance. That's how we got Willie Mays, man. So
does it not like balance out the evilness since he brings in a lot of money for good causes?
No.
A little bit. Just a
little bit. It doesn't. And I'm telling you, somebody else can do this work. People bid money on auction items because they care about the organization. And that's the truth. And if you make a little less money for not, soiling your reputation with something embarrassing, or, conversely, allow someone else the opportunity to make themselves an absolute ass in public, because he's hogging 2 spots on this. I'm pretty
impressed with him this year.
I mean, every kid needs to be allowed to play.
But I will mention that Rex really does bring some cool gifts for the auction, as we've discovered. So...
Sadly, one of those gifts for the Rural County Representatives of California, which has 3 rules. No live animals, a rule apparently he broke with like a puppy or something. No weed. I really hope he did not put weed in this thing. And no guns. And he was like, cool, I'll throw a 9mm in there. I mean, was there Larapin sauce? Were there local products? I think I saw a little hum yum caramel in there. That stuff is delicious.
Oh, good.
And there was a barbecue grill. We did not need the 9mm. It's not even a gun that says hunting and blah, 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 or whatever. It's not that. It says, here's a thing built to go through other people. And given our crime rates, our homicide rates, our gun violence and gun death and suicide rates, not a great look. It's again, telling people I don't care about that. So that's terrible, almost as terrible as when he suggested at another auction for spot number 2, that the woman restaurant owner who had donated, you end up paying more than the value. She donated a meal at the restaurant, and he suggested that if the bidding went high enough, she would serve topless, which is the kind of misogyny that, first of all, female restaurant staff, like, they don't need more of that. And then also, what a humiliating thing to do in front of all your peers, right? I mean, that's not how any female business owner wants to be treated at a Eureka Chamber of Commerce event. So yeah, he's got 2 spots on this year and is working his way towards some sort of a lifetime achievement goal.
Talvi, maybe next time Access Humboldt has an auction, if you want Rex, just ask him to do it topless. I think that's fair.
I think a lot of people would pay for that, to be honest.
Pay extra.
You would pay extra for that. Oh, well, he's got the pitchforks and the tar and feathers and everything, and have a real fun time with him. I actually think if it were for a nonprofit too, or for like a charity thing, he would probably be willing to get tarred and feathered just for the hilarity of it. And I know that's terrible. I know everybody feels how they feel about Rex, and for right reasons. He says some dumb things. And he knows.
I really do believe Supervisor Bowen has the best interest of his constituents in mind. I mean, the hubcap comment years past, the topless comment. You got to hold your nose, right? I do think Rex has the best in mind. And as far as the gun, yeah, that sucks. But he's a honeydew boy. It's country, right? I don't know. I don't want to make excuses. It just seems it's rural. Like it's a rural thing, I don't know.
I think that there are a lot of other things about Southern Humboldt that could have been in that basket, that could have shown some of the wonders of Southern Humboldt and the natural beauty there. And, not a gun that isn't even made there.
Or weed.
So after the break, we're going to get back to the top spot. See you right here on Thursday Night Talk. All right, everyone, welcome back to the last segment this year of Thursday Night Talk. We are discussing the top 10 dick moves in Humboldt County, here with Jennifer Fumiko Cahill, as well as Lauren Schmitt from North Coast Journal and KMUD, respectively. And we just got, I feel like I could never be done discussing Rex. Like, it'd be a fun little, like, sociology experiment, just like, oh my gosh, how does this happen? How does society allow a man of his nature, and people love him? It is amazing. Like I get everyone's like, but it is wild. It's wild.
I get that it's easy to say that these are just gaffes, right? That these are just, maybe it's generational, maybe it's
deep-rooted thing at this point. Like, I've realized that this is not just a oops. This is his true belief system coming out with these words.
But and in last year's Dick Move column, he was part of what we classified as a Russian nesting doll of Dick Moves rather, in the Travis Schneider house. His assertion that he was gonna let slide some really blatant racism and, good old boy favoritism, because, as he put it, I'm not gonna fire my friend. And that shows you too who is valued and who's not, right? Yeah. So seeing those values at play, you start to see how these attitudes are not in isolation. They're not just they're not just not reading the room.
Before we get what the number one is
important.
Yes. Before we get into what number one is, I want to ask both of you, though. Let's start with Lauren, because I know you've got the Southern Humboldt news sources on lockdown. What do you think should have made the list but didn't?
Oh man. Oh Lord. Oh, that is a good question. What should have made the list? I mean, honestly, not only the enablers, call him by their name, Pastor Bromwell. The guy's evil. No, I mean, I try to hold my tongue, but that guy is straight evil. And I'm not just talking about towards the queer community, but my friend Michelle Vassal, the tribal administrator with the Weot tribe, she couldn't believe her eyes when she drove to Ferndale one day and saw that like Columbus was sent from God. Columbus, really? Oh, really? So I just cannot, and I actually interviewed him following that drag show cancellation. And it's like one thing to be like, hide, behind religion or whatever, but this was some next level, y'all. Like, never have I ever. The guy was saying, well, compared to, and God, I hate everyone. I hate my wife. And I was like, what the hell?
I mean, I don't doubt it.
He was like, I used to be gay, but not any. I was like, what are you? I was like, what? And I had to keep a straight face. And, I was raised in the church. I'm not religious now, but, spent my childhood in a darn church and private Catholic school. And, asking, why is it you're choosing some obscure Bible verse? It also says, I trigger warning, but I asked him point blank. There's a verse that says, if you rape my daughter, we're square if you give me a goat. And his response, I am not joking, was, I think we all need a goat, Lauren. Like, insert that word now. Like, what in the world?
Yeah, by the way, did you see the pamphlet on Columbus? Because that was a gem.
I did not, thank God.
There was a Sam Kinman pamphlet. The truth is that he is maybe the thirstiest man in Humboldt. And the only thing stronger than his love of bad opinions and bigotry appears to be his desperation for attention. It is a tiny little church and full of, I think, frankly small number of people who are super committed to the same kind of bigotry and awfulness that they feel like they have to go out of the house with to evangelize about their awfulness. And yeah, he is exhausting, and he loves the spotlight. He loves the attention. One of these days, I do believe he's going to get somebody really hurt.
Yeah.
And because he talks about he talks about fighting evil and, using metaphorically, not metaphorically, I'm not sure, talking about like using guns to fight evil, right? And his disgust with non-Christian people, his disgust with Native people, it's repellent. And he has presented a challenge to talk about what he's done and his impact. And we have written about him fairly extensively without giving him a platform.
Right.
And because he loves the attention. And every time you write about him, like, he's talked on his ridiculous podcast. Boy, is he a podcast bro. He's talked about my publisher and I think me, I can't remember.
Yeah, I heard it.
And it's really like, yeah, he's definitely, he loves the attention. He loves the criticism because he loves to feel important. And yeah, at the end of the day, the responsibility, I think, lies with leadership, local leadership, and they really have done nothing. I have seen the community really push back and show support and allyship toward particularly queer people, but I have not seen Ferndale City Council do much of anything.
Hey, Rex Stone and Michelle voted against hate.
That's amazing.
One other thing I want to mention really quick, again, not to give a platform, but the Lost Coast Populist.
Oh, yeah, I know.
They're also
in on that meeting too.
Yeah. So anyways.
Anywho, so the number one, which you kind of jumped the gun there, but that's okay. Too much gun talk today. Too much gun talk today. But it's the anti-LGBT enablers, and not just that. I didn't see it mentioned in the article, though. Even everything that happened at the fair, which it's a poor fair this year. But with the, I mean, I don't want to say who he is because I think he's trying to better himself, and I'm wondering if that's why the article doesn't mention him. But the incident with the Foggy Bottom Boys and how they called them names and all these things, right, and then ran over some of their equipment.
So yes, the owner of the Loco Fish Co. truck, yeah, absolutely said awful homophobic stuff. The Foggy Bottom Boys were not there at the time, but it was absolutely unacceptable, like right next to their booth. And just in general, don't do that, like, ever. Like, I don't know, isn't that why you have a house and like some sort of fake online identity to do that there? And one of the things that really, aside from, again, just the straight up bigotry, one of the things that was awful about the fallout from that was that his employees ended up paying the price for that, right? Because when the truck is not busy, they don't get paid, right? When they don't have hours, when the truck is shut down, et cetera, et cetera. And most of them found work elsewhere or whatever, but it's a tough time. And what you do, and this is a kind of a microcosm in my mind for, a city, right? When the leadership kind of shows themselves to be fools and is bigoted and shows people who is not welcome and protected in their world, that impacts all the other people who are, in that town, in that business. And just like all the people from the Loco Fish Co. truck took lumps for their boss's behavior, so too do the people of Ferndale take lumps for how their city council handled a bunch of bigots who, honestly, some of them were not even from town. They drove, they commuted. Gas was $5 a gallon, and they drove down to Ferndale just to go be bigots. Mm-hmm. To allow that kind of thing is to, hurt Ferndale business, hurt Ferndale morale, hurt people who live in Ferndale and feel like, well, am I really protected and valued here? Am I a part of this town? Does my voice matter? Does my experience day to day in this town matter? Yeah, it's hard to say it's welcoming, right? Like, I actually, so I did not include Loco Fish Co. partly because that business took some heavy lumps, and there was actual punishment. There was actual blowback. One of the things that makes, I think, the Dick Moves column is that it's an opportunity to talk about, the outrage that doesn't get addressed. The crime gets addressed, but the choice of crime, the victim, the kind of victim you attack doesn't get addressed. Rex will probably be elected again. And all of this will be memory hold because, I don't know, Humboldt has decided that that that's their choice, that they don't deserve better. The Ferndale City Council, who knows? They may just stay in place after, honestly, the worst showing that I've listened to from a public comment. It was heinous to listen to them to listen to someone say such hateful and frightening things while, like, there were LGBTQ people. There's like a young woman who was crying in the audience, and they're just like, okay, next.
Wow.
It's harrowing, absolutely harrowing. And that was, to me, a dick move that edged out smaller scale ones, because it is small and cowardly. They could have said something. They absolutely had the power and the leeway to say something, and they chose not to because it's icky and uncomfortable, and they don't want people to not like them. One of the unfortunate things that I experienced this year was, before this happened, I had gone onto the Ferndale community page and asked, hey, what are some cool, LGBTQ plus or trans friendly businesses? Give me a shout out on this in the comments, because I'm looking for places that I can send people, right? That's one of the things I do, is I edit the Humboldt Insider, for example. And when I am writing about restaurants or recommending things to people, I want to know, where can I send people where they can be comfortable and happy? Because that's not everywhere. And I got a lot of people who were complaining and saying, why are you even asking this? You're sowing division. And I was like, am I? Or are you kind of angry for maybe reasons that you should examine? And it was a lot of this same vibe that I saw at the Ferndale City Council.
So we are at the end of the show, or near the end of the show, and just want to give everyone a moment. Like, we got about a minute, 2 minutes each. But predictions for the future, or just what else do you wish were on that list? And if it could only be 50 pages and 10 hours long. Let's start with Lauren.
Okay, comments. Let me get it in there in 1 minute. Okay, first, I'd like to say Patches Pastries in Ferndale. Big shout out to them, and to Lost Coast Pride, which is based in Ferndale. And when we've been covering the story and interviewing them, they're like, look, these psychos who are making a lot of noise don't actually represent the people of Ferndale. We're supported, we're safe, we're seen. I think that's really important to mention. And with this rise of bigotry, it's also the rise of resistance, which I think is winning that battle. And that's great to see as a member of the queer community. Predictions for the future. If I wanted to bet money, I'd say the Eel River dams are coming down, but we already know that's happening. Predictions for the future, I'm going to leave it open. I'm open to anything. As long as I don't make the top 10 dick moves of 2024, I'm happy. So thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you, Lauren. So about a minute and a half.
I don't doubt your tenacity, Lauren, but I don't think you have it in you to make it on the list. It's not a challenge. I'm not throwing it down. I don't have any actual predictions. I think that the only thing I know is that more dick moves are coming. Probably just before the dams finally come down altogether, Rob Arkley will zip in and be like, no, I will purchase them and keep them up. I don't know. I just know that, people are small and petty, myself included. And so that's why we never run out of dick moves.
More vagina moves.
Yeah, we totally need to get some an opposite list to top 10 vagina moves of 2024. I'm gonna look out for it, and I want to win that trophy. That's a trophy I want to win.
It's a good
probably
goal.
one day. I don't know. Another 50, 60 years left to life. I might be on that top 10 Dick list once. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I hope not. That is about all the time we have today. Thank you to Jennifer Fumiko Cahill, author of Top 10 Dick Moves from 2023. You can catch that in North Coast Journal. You also have to be involved with the North Coast Journal quite a bit. And then we got Lauren Schmitt from KMUD. Thank you to both of you. We'll be back maybe next week or in 2 weeks. If you have topics or suggestions, please email us at kzzh@accesshumboldt.net. The show will replay on Friday evenings at 8 p.m. right here on KZZH 96.7. You can also watch our show on our YouTube channel. Look up Access Humboldt. Look up Thursday Night Talk, and we will be there. Thank you so much. And if you're watching this on cable, good on you for loving that retro activity of watching actual TV. Catch you another time. I'm Talvi Fried.